to see me on the original thing. I've gotten a lot of chat in there. I had trouble. There's something wrong with the orientation, guys. I'm going to be rambling on here for a few minutes. Let me make sure. Kimberly, let me know if my sound is on.
Okay. Yes, it is, hon. Sound is on.
Sound is on?
Yeah.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's on
good.
your homepage.
All right. Let's see if we've got anybody on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It may take a few minutes for everybody to find out what's going on here. All right. Sorry for the screw up, folks. I set this stream up in advance and I had the orientation set, everything set. And then when I clicked go live at exactly 5 o'clock, everything blew up. Now, I've got Kimberly over on the original chat right now trying to tell all of you to look for this live stream as it just popped out. And I know it's going to take a while to get anybody over here. Um, Tonight, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. And as you guys find your way over here, I'm going to kind of ramble a bit. All right. First of all, I want everybody to know that, let's see. Hey, brother, Royce, I don't have any way to link you up the way I'm set up here. I'm so sorry. But I, in future videos, good Lord, you'd be the first guy I'd have up here. All right. I'm in the middle of getting this whole thing set up. I thought I was free and clear today. And I pressed that live button and it said rotate the device. I tried all of that and it just wasn't working. I hate that it has disrupted the stream. You have my apologize, but I'm brand new at this, folks. I just started my stream last Saturday. So it's been and will continue to be a ongoing um, kind of endeavor. Uh, Obviously, I'm going to have to get connected with some sort of streaming platform that does this better. Because I can tell you right now, Roy's asked for a link. If I could link him up, he'd be up here on stream. He'd be the very first person I'd ever want on my stream. Royce has supported my channel way back when I was nothing. Royce was the bigger channel at that time. And he just, I was brand new. And I wasn't even doing rock videos at that point, but he was doing travel videos. I'm just yammering to get before people get in here, right? Travel videos that I really dug. The one that really where we connected on was he did a travel video on the San Francisco Haight-Ashbury district, right? And so we just had a connection from that time. As a matter of fact, Royce and I have been on the phone today. We're friends. All right. And after this stream, I will be joining Royce at 6:30. We're going to end this stream just before 5, and I'll be joining him at 6:30 on his panel, and we're going to be discussing Neil Young. Oh, there you go. That's I'll actually take it out of the package up there on the stream. But this is one of the albums I got for my birthday. All right, and it's a German pressing based on the original tapes. And the album is reproduced perfect. You even get the handwritten lyrics and everything. And I can't wait to listen to it. I've often talked about people to people about my time in North Carolina. I was born in North Carolina, but I was primarily raised here in California. But at 17, I went back to live in California, North Carolina, with my grandmother, and I went to Tuscola High School in Waynesville, North Carolina. Small little town at the time. They've grown up quite a bit since then. And the closest thing they had to a record store was a drugstore.
Oh my gosh.
And they would have, what's this?
$100.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Storm Cop. You know what? Storm Cop, AKA James, has been probably my biggest um, what would you call it? He is definitely my biggest Patreon. All right. He has done this before. James, really? Seriously, thank you so much. Uh, and by the way, folks, don't let that amount scare you off from supporting the channel financially. By the way, uh, all of us YouTube content creators work our asses off. And when we have people who join our Patreons, James Stormcop 55, he's one of my Patreon members. He's also one of the channel members. That's why you see a gold star on his comments, by the way. And you won't get a gold star right away. He's been a member since I started my membership, right? And I haven't really, I appreciate the members I have because I really haven't gotten my membership section of my channel really going, but I've got some fantastic things coming just for my members. So there's a lot of ways to support my channel, right? This is what I do full time for a living. If I'm not up on screen, I'm writing my next video. Or, for example, I just had a video. I'm waiting for people to come in. I just put out a video that was a tribute to the fallen rockers in 2024. Now, I'm not in that video. I love editing. So I did all the editing of that video. I even licensed the song you hear in that video by Mojo Gray, right? And the response has been phenomenal. That video, I released it, less than 3 weeks ago? And that video has hit 176,000 views in less than 3 weeks. It is the fourth best produced video or producing video that I've ever done as far as views go. Now, the biggest viewed video I've ever done kind of ties in with what we're going to be talking about tonight. And that video was entitled Rockers Who Need to Retire. I did that video a little over 3 years ago, between 2 and 3 years ago, I should say. And that is my biggest video on the channel. It is about ready to go 390,000. It is at 389,000 views. I can't believe the amount of subscriptions I picked up on that video and everything. It is by far my most popular video. Now, in that video, I was targeting a lot of people, and we're going to be talking about some of the people that I targeted in that video because some of the usual suspects are still out there, right? Okay. So, but in that video, I remember covering Genesis, right? And I heard that Genesis' last tour was actually phonically, right? Absolutely great. But I had a problem, you know. You had Phil Collins sitting in a chair on stage, evidently providing really good videos. You know, when you sit down, you don't sing as well as if you're standing up and really being able to project from the diaphragm, right? And his son was providing the drums. Now, I know, Genesis was a big deal. And personally, when you talk about Genesis, I got to tell you, my favorite version of Genesis was with Phil Collins at the helm. Now, Phil Collins as a solo artist, not so much, although I loved him in Tarzan. Right? My daughter was the right age for that, so I've seen that movie about 1,000, cartoon, about 1,000 times. But I wasn't that major, he, with the exception of his uh, the one he did for Miami Vice. I love that. Some of the greatest drumming and everything. But when it comes to solo artists, I prefer Peter Gabriel. All right. So enough with that. So that was just one of the bands that I talked to. Now I've been reading your chat before coming on. A big shout out to Brandon. A big shout out to Storm Cop, of course, James. Divining Dragon, one of the most vociferous of our tribal mates. And it's really good to see the connection between James and Brendan. James Brendan's from down under, all right? And has been a long-time subscriber to this channel and a big supporter to Royce's channel. All right, so I'd like to see everybody who's on right now over uh, at Royce's when we get to it. Big shout out to let's see who else is in the, and of course I'm looking at some of the chats before. Uh, we've got Jack Flash. 80s acts are probably going to be here another 20 years singing singing Armageddon and the like. Oh God, please don't tell me that's so. Uh, nothing worse than aging hair bands, right? That's another thing. Some of the bands that I had in my notes that I wanted to kind of cover tonight uh, were, of course, we can talk about Motley Spew all you guys want to. Uh, now, uh, Motley Crue uh, just put out a new single not too long ago called Dogs of War. Now, I reviewed that. I liked that. And I've often said that when they first came out, they weren't bad for a hair band, right? They were tight. I like some of their, a couple of their albums, sort of, and their biggest hits, I never turned them off or anything like that. But my biggest problem is what they've kind of morphed into. Uh, Take a look at any, well, not any, but take a look on YouTube and just type in, the thing uh, that ate the lead singer to Motley Crue messes up lyrics, and you'll see he's up there. He doesn't know what he's singing. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's out of shape. Uh, and was it Nikki Six? I think it was Nikki Six that was recently interviewed, and he said that because I think they were working with Bob Rock, and at the time there was rumors that this was an album coming out, and I would give them a fair shake if they put out an album that was anywhere near like what they did in their heyday. I'd be all for that, right? But he has been quoted that I guess they've changed their minds because he says they've got two or three, maybe four songs, I guess, that they recorded with Bob Rock, and they're going to be releasing them as singles. Now, maybe that's the business today, folks. I don't know. But to me, that's like somebody lost, something there, the drive or whatever. And I know it's not Bob Rock, you know. So this band continues to tour. All right, they're not at their best. The tapes that I've seen, they're uh, they're playing to backing tracks on top of everything else. And that's so obvious. Nikki Six too. All right, and the way that they've done their past guitarist. What's his name? Uh, Switching channels and everything. My memory's going to be shot tonight. But and his album. God, what's his name? Somebody type it in and let me know. Kimberly, if you see anybody type in Motley Crue's former guitarist, it's just not coming to me.
Okay.
But anyway, by the way, I've
Nick
got
Mars,
who? Mick Mars. Thank you so much.
Storm Cop type.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Just, senior moment. Oh, I'm back. Okay. So anyway, Mick Mars' new album, is fantastic. I loved it. All right. It's not quite the style I listen to a lot, but I plan on getting that album in the future. I want it on vinyl if it's available. I know he's recording with, on a budget these days and everything else like that. But there's an excellent band that you could talk about. Other bands that come to mind, a lot of people are criticizing Yes because they only have Steve Howe. And that he should just hang it up. Yes, should just call it a day, uh, especially with the passing of Chris Squire and Alan White. Even after John Anderson left, they had a core trio of members there. Alan White wasn't their original drummer, right? By far. But I love Alan White. I mean, I anything he's on, I love. The one time I saw Yes down in the peninsula near San Francisco, oh, what a beautiful night that was! I got to tell you, it's under a tented arena, right? beautiful summer night, and I was watching one of the best bands give me one of the very best concerts I've ever been to. I've often said that Queen, I saw them twice and early before they turned into the phenom that they did. I saw them tour Night of the Opera, and I saw them tour their second album, right? And there's another band, by the way. The reason I bring them up, I think it's time for Queen just to hang it up. Everybody seems to be okay with Adam Lambert singing for them. They're a freaking jukebox, people. It gets down to that. They're just up there. They're no better than the fake foreigner that's out there just doing all the hits, right? That's all that Queen is doing. And there's only half of them. The reason I was such a major Queen fan was because uh, all four of them wrote. I put them on the level of the Beatles back in the day and still do to some degree, right? You had a band with four strong songwriters. I mean, John Deacon wrote several of their biggest hits, you know. And of course, their drummer, I loved his stuff. I loved his stuff on, no matter what crap they gave him about I'm in love with my car. I love that song. Are you kidding me? And so, anyway, with the two of them, this isn't Queen, folks. It isn't to me. Uh, how about Don Henley out there, who is touring with the Eagles? He's the only Eagle left, and I'm not going to get into that. I've covered that in past videos. But Joe Walsh and even Timothy B. Schmidt were replacement members without full membership. So there was five full-time Eagles, right? And you had Randy Meisner, Bernie Ledden, you had Don Felder later on, and of course Don Henley and Glenn Fry. All right, you've only got Don Henley up there, and what an old fart he's turned into. They're playing to backing tracks, or at least his lead vocals. He's lip syncing, right? And I criticized this, and I got a lot of comments, and that's what's cool about my channel. See, I always say, uh, I'm Michael Noland. This is the bottom line, and of course, I say this is my bottom line. So I just start the conversation, folks, and I give you my honest opinions on the channel, and then I get voted down all the time, right? And I got a lot of comments saying that their show at the Sphere is actually absolutely fantastic. My only problem is, and I didn't argue the point too much with that, is but you're not hearing them live, you know? And where there's smoke, there's fire. If he's lip syncing, who else is playing to backing tracks? Okay. So that's another band that kind of comes to mind. What about Clearwater? I don't know if Creedence Clearwater Revisited is still currently touring, but to me, the only reason for that band to go on would be to drop the Revisited, put the Revival back in, get their head out of their asses and join up with John. I brought that up on my last stream. And tours Creedence Clearwater Revival. Guns N' Roses. What are we going to do about Guns N' Roses? Okay. Also, another one of my biggest videos at about 217,000 videos was the one rock singer I can't stand his voice, and that was Axl Rose. Okay, so I've never been a big fan. No, I've never been a fan of Guns N' Roses whatsoever. I love Slash as a guitar player, but I can't be bothered with Axl Rose. Now, I do know he has this, did have this incredible range. I mean, you read the Wikipedia piece about him, you'd think he was the second coming. I never thought so. And I really hated him after he ruined Live and Let Die by Paul McCartney. What about Styx? Styx is out there. We talked a little bit about them. Uh, and they're going to be touring with Kevin Cronin. Why Kevin Cronin? Because they can't tour with REO Speedwagon. All right. And of course, they're teaming up with Don Felder, who has teamed up with Styx in the past. Right. Now, as far as Don Felder going, any gig he can get, the way he's been treated with the Eagles, I'd pay to go see him alone. All right. But he wants to make bigger bucks. So he's touring to help shore up the power of that tour with them, right? And Kevin Cronin, the last thing he wants to be doing is this tour. He doesn't want to be sharing money. He used to make, I brought this up on my channel last week too. He made between 150 to $260,000 a show, touring with the same band he's touring with now, as REO Speedwagon, right? So to me, if he wants to tour as Kevin Cronin, he wrote the songs. That's fine. But a lot of these bands. Here's a question for you guys. What do you think about this? Um, a lot of these bands, the truth is, they need to tour. All right. No matter how big they were in the back in the day, they would tour. They're touring because they didn't spend their money wisely back when they were making the big bucks. That's a common story in rock and roll. And a lot of rock and rollers who would like to tour or to tour occasionally, doing occasional shows and things like that, that's just not viable for them, right? And so they're out there. I was saying, what band was it that I brought up in last week's stream, and one of you brought out. Actually, I bought tickets. Uh, I think it was for Styx, wasn't it? Uh, oh, and by the way, I was talking about Aerosmith. We'll get to Aerosmith here real quick. It wasn't. It wasn't Joey Kramer that said Steven Tyler's rehabilitation is going. I was wrong about that. That was Tom Hamilton. And you know what? I went back and I wanted to make sure that I had corrected my mistake. I went back and looked at that article because the article kind of flavors it like, "Who is there a future for Aerosmith?" And if you look at his statement really closely, he wasn't promising that at all. Matter of fact, it was like more or less him just being encouraging for Steven Tyler. Now they're all going to get together for a show. I'm not sure if they're going to have guest vocalists, up for that. Tom and Joe Perry, anyway, will be there. And for me, if Steven ever got his voice back, folks, I would love to see them tour, but I want to see, the original members of Aerosmith. To me, Aerosmith's one of those bands that are identified by key members, and I'm just not interested in seeing a bunch of replacement members up there. What about you two? Now, see, you two and the Eagles fit into another thing. Um, these bands are, to me, I call them geezer bands. They're in the old folks' home. That's what a residency is for a rocker. You stay in town. The venue set you up with a real nice hotel. In between shows, you can spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day doing the sightseeing, doing a little gambling, going to other shows, whatever. Show up for your show, go back to your hotel room, which is now your home for the next 6 months or so. And that kills something for me in rock and roll. That's not the kind of concert I grew up with. I know everybody's going to go, the old geezer, he just can't keep up with the times. And a lot of you said, Michael, you got to see this show. Boy, that would to get me in that building. I don't know if I could ever. Uh, my wife threatens to take me. She would love that kind of show, right? So there, hope springs eternal for the sphere for me. But of course, I'll be bound and gagged if she drags me in by my throat, right? But my problem with these residencies is they make the rockers complacent. I mean, the Eagles with all this time on their hand, right? Uh, Where's the new music? Where's the new album? I mean, you're at a freaking residency. And that's another thing with half these bands. A lot of people go, the Rolling Stones need to call it a day. Now, see, I have a problem with that. I agree on one hand, because I don't think live they're as tight as they ever used to be. I hear a lot of slipshod musicianship, a lot of miscues. Keith has miscued a lot. I've seen several videos on that. Yet, Hackney Diamonds and intermittent releases such as Living in a Ghost Town, they're still producing. I mean, they have an album that's not even 2 years old. So, as long as any band wants to continue to tour and not retire, and they're putting out new music like Styx. they should get together with Dennis DeYoung, folks. I mean, they wouldn't have to tour with Kevin Cronin, who I'd like to see fall flat on his ass, right? Or Don Felder, and no disrespect to Don Felder. I'd feel for him if he lost their patronage. But if they got Dennis DeYoung back, they wouldn't need any support acts. They could fill arenas, with him at the helm of a lot of their songs and being their lead singer, lead songwriter as well. People say enough of Nickelback. All right, now, you Canadian haters. Uh, I like Nickelback. All right. Loved their first album, bought it when it first came out. And I don't understand. I think as heavy sound as they have, people think they're too popish. And people have forgotten that good classic rock. I want to keep a track on the time here. Good. I'm only about halfway through here. Um, People who keep track of, um, uh, what was I talking about? Good Lord. See, I'm watching the clock and everything. Nickelback. Thank you, darling. See, it's good to have moderators. By the way, I have two moderators on tonight. James, I'll make you a moderator.
Yeah,
Brandon, in the future. There's people here I'd like, and that way, if any shenanigans happen, you guys would be able to time people out. I'd ask you to just give them a warning shot as I add moderators to this. Give them a 10-second shout out or a diss, unless it is obviously breaking YouTube standards and kick their asses out of here. All right. But I want this to grow, folks. All right. I can't even keep up with what you're talking about in the chat, but I'm going to go over those in after we're done for sure, because I can't connect to the chat like I was doing. All right. So another band, Steely Dan. Why is he calling himself Steely Dan? First of all, Steely Dan, probably right from the start, was uh, Donald Fagen and what's his name, Walter Becker? Yeah, uh, always. But they did have like a core band that I really liked. I liked Steely Dan less and less, although I collected them. I have every one of their albums, digitally, and I've got one of their albums now, and I intend to get all of them. They're fantastic. They're a fantastic band, but I preferred them as far as a lineup when Jeff Skunk Baxter was in there still. Denny Diaz, you know, was in there, and Walter was a bass player. You know, so but the two of them really are Steely Dan. Now, without Walter, there's no way uh, that Donald Fagen should be touring as Steely Dan. I think that's ridiculous. Should he retire? No, there's, if he's got a good show, that's fine, but he needs to retire the Steely Dan name because that's just not right. That's false advertisement, as far as I'm concerned. People are talking. I looked up bands I'm not really following. Coldplay was a band that's mentioned as having come to the point that they should probably hang it up. Their last album to be released was in here in 2025, and they say that that's going to be pretty much it, and they're just going to tour perpetually. Exactly the kind of band I'm not interested in. What do you guys think? Is that the kind of music you want to see? Is just traveling? That's my biggest problem with Paul McCartney. He's asking way too much money and not playing enough of his new music. And of course, some of his new music isn't some of his best because he's still writing material that doesn't go with the voice he has right now, as far as I'm concerned. So Jethro Tull, they just put out Rockfall. So I love that album. But I hear live that Ian Anderson's voice isn't all that good, but he can sing good enough. He put out one album. I wonder what the hell happened to his voice, right? And all of a sudden, um, they put out Rock Float, and I'm going, no, well, that's it. I mean, it's a little grislier than, say him during the Heavy Horses album or Stormwatch or Aqualung, right? But it's a great album, right? So he's putting out new music. He wants to tour it. And if people don't mind a lesser voice, just like McCartney, go for it. All right. Anything I'm missing in the comments, Kimberly? By the way, if you're late, viewers, remember I'm doing this stream leading up to a stream with Royce in the house tonight. I'll be on his stream at 6:30. I'm going to get off here just before 6 o'clock. Give me time to purdy myself up, right? And then I'll join him on the panel, and we're going to be just. What's that, babe?
Thomas Sabia says Anne has cancer.
Oh, from Wilson. Yeah, Ann Wilson. You're right. Let me finish this with Royce. After we're doing that, we're going to be talking about Neil Young, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion about Crosby, Stills, and Nash as well, because he's so tied to Crosby, Stills, and Nash, as well as specifically Stephen Stills, right? So we'll be talking about that. And if you have any questions about what we went on in this stream, I'm sure Royce will bring it up on screen. I'm going to get to the point where I can bring your comments on stream. But this is only fireside chat number 2. So we're doing what we can, folks. The Who. All right. First of all, The Who hasn't been The Who, in my humble opinion, since Keith Moon died, and most certainly since John Entwistle died. That two former members of a capital L legacy band performing with a bunch of replacement musicians isn't The Who. But if they just toured as Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend, I guarantee you they wouldn't bring in the money, because your average concert goer doesn't have a lot of the information that you guys are showing in the chat right now. You guys, my viewers, for the most part, are pretty well educated in rock, right? A lot of you have grown up on rock, and that's why you watch the channel. These are the bands we grew up on. But there's new bands out there, and if rock has a prayer to continue into the 21st century with any kind of presence, we've got to give these newer bands a place on the touring circuit. We've got to encourage them. We've got to, uh, whatever it takes to make their tours a lot more profitable, because it's these big legacy bands that aren't recording any new music and they're just out there. I said it in the last stream. I don't understand that kind of mindset whatsoever. Let me see if I can connect with you guys a little bit here. I've got to redo where I was. I hope you're all having a wonderful evening. I know that here on the channel in January, you haven't seen me make as many of my videos that I've made in the past. Right?
Ivan is asking if you remember that you inspired him to make a music channel.
Who was this?
Ivan.
Oh,
Ivan Dawson.
Yes, I saw your comment last time. I'm looking forward to what you're going to be producing over there, Ivan. And thank you. I'm glad I was an inspiration for anybody. Usually, I'm not even an inspiration for Kimberly to get out of bed in the morning. No, I'm serious. But no, I always appreciate that. I'm trying to get over to the chat as it's coming up on YouTube and where I'm at right now. And for some reason, here we go. There we go. Sorry for the dead space, folks. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I can get over to where we were before. Yeah, this is very interesting. It's not letting me get up over there. These are the little wrinkles when you start a new stream. And, I'm eventually going to have to look into doing a stream with a streaming platform, not StreamYard. Way too expensive. But so that I can bring folks up, I can bring your comments up on stream. All of that's in the future, folks. All right. So I'm still looking for my own stream on YouTube, and I don't see it. So let's see what's going on here. We'll get there. If Rachel's out there watching, she's probably, by the way, if you are watching, Rachel, we miss you. All right. course, I'm talking about Rachel's Ghost, fantastic channel. She's decided to end her channel. I don't know if there's a future for her back on YouTube or not. I haven't heard anything. But Rachel would be saying right now, God damn, Michael is such a dweeb when it comes to understanding what buttons to push. One night I was trying to get on her stream, and I was still stuck in Patreon. It was a horrible mess. But what else do you do, you know? Okay, so here we go live. Oh, there I am. Okay. Now, if you'd only click. Okay, well, it's not wanting to do it. Interesting. Okay, so we'll get this stuff set up or fixed up by the time we do the stream next week. It's a improve or as you go type of thing. Now, one thing I wanted to do before I signed off tonight is I wanted to bring up a couple of people here that are really important to the channel. First of all, of course, Royce Eddings. Royce Eddings, you'll see him in all my videos. He's a tribal chieftain. Now, Royce, I gave that title to him, and I explained to a lot of you. Why I did that. Royce and I are not just fellow content creators or even friendly content creators. We're actually friends, personal friends, even though I've never met the guy. But I love the guy. So you'd see him, you'll always see him on my um, there at the end where you have the floating windows and you see names. Now, I've never really explained a whole lot why those names are there. It used to be for new subscribers, but I couldn't keep up with that. New subscribers, if I was to shout you out, it'd take me 2 years to get your name up, right? So when I monetized, not monetized, but when I went over to memberships on the channel, uh, I started shouting out the channel members on every video, right, that I make. So I want to give a shout out to, of course, James Stormcop 55, who has shown his medal tonight. You are a rock god, James. Good Lord, what a wonderful gift! I'll tell you. And you know what? When people do give super things, people go, well, if he gave 100, I only, $2 isn't going to help. Trust me, you and about 30 others who do that, then that comes in, and I invested into equipment for the studio, right? That's where that money goes for. Dan DeLynch, tribal elder, Sean McCall, tribal chieftain, Sue Holler, tribal elder, Kimberly Noland, my beloved wife, tribal chieftain, Tony Gaddles, tribal elder, Professor Donald Hall, tribal elder, as well as Brian. Now, I hope I get this right, Brian. The Queever, Brian the Queever Griss, all right, who is one of my brand new members, all right. So, just a reminder for if you ever consider to go to membership, like I said, I'm slow to getting the memberships going, but I'm going to be dedicating one video a week at least, and I'm going to be offering a whole new series over there, and that'll be videos that are designated to members only. All right, so or you can join my Patreon. All right, enough shameless promotion there. But I did want to give those people a shout out. Tons of people who are on my Patreon. The list is far too long there. I often share on Patreon what I can't share here on the channel. All right. So that has a different flavor than the membership. All right. So let's see. What else? Who else? Kimberly, is there any other bands that have been brought up by these folks? Because I'm having trouble accessing. You see anybody there?
Yeah.
I'm going to have a word with YouTube after this. Okay. I'm not able to access them. We'll get these bugs worked out. But anyway, I had a ton of bands I could bring up. I actually wanted this to be a little more interactive than it's turning out to be. But like I said, we'll get better and better as time goes on. But what is it now? If you watch this after, or if you make comments in this after, once this is up just for viewing, and it's already dead as far as being live, bring up the bands that I missed, if you would, and I'll make a list on that. All right, folks, and we'll take care of that on another live stream. Now, next week we're going to do something a little bit different than this, but I could pencil a part two to this in down the line, and we could really go to town on this. All right, but there are a ton of people out there that I feel are a little long on the tooth, and they're not offering much of a deal to us as rock fans. Their prices are too high. They're not producing music. I thought they were rock artists. Artists create. They don't just mimic what they've created live. There's a place for live music. I think every band on the planet should avail themselves to a live audience. But if they don't have anything new to offer. I mean, most of the people that go to these concerts and they're seeing Styx and they're playing Styx songs, a lot of them don't even know that they're missing, their big guy, their lead vocalist and their primary songwriter for most of their hits anyway, Dennis. So to me, it's false advertising. All right. And on top of that, it hurts us because we don't get new music. They take the lion's share of the money made live, right? And so that makes it harder for new bands who would take up the mantle, right? Which we need desperately. I've mentioned, I'd love to see Dirty Honey, and they're off to a great start. They're a self starting band. Two great brand new albums, recent albums by them. Greta Van Fleet, right? I'd like to see them get back to being more of a Zepp oriented band like I fell in love with them at the beginning. Of course, bands like Rival Sons and a band I haven't mentioned that I love. They're not rock and roll, but they're kind of rock and roll as attitude. I love the Dead South, man. I love the Dead South. They just got, what do you call that? Americana? I'm not sure. Are they? I've never looked up what's their indication. But I love roots music like that and music presented with some attitude, little fiddle, little banjo, little guitar, right? Great vocals, harmonies, man. These guys have got it all. And we need to make room for the brand new bands that are out there. It's the future, folks, or it is the lack of a future if we don't do something about that. Now, the power always rests in the fans' hands. Unfortunately, here's the problem: we don't have a common place where we gather anymore. Oh, I have this channel, and my viewers can gather over here and bitch and moan about that. And we gain some traction along that. And there's other channels that have similar belief systems as mine. And that gets some word going, online. But the problem is that your average concert goer doesn't know what they're paying for, right? And they're more than happy. They're used to hearing these songs at the end of their favorite movie, so they go see the Stones because, you know, they want to hear, about what's the song where he takes on the persona of Lucifer, sympathy for the devil, because that's been in every damn movie on the planet, right? So anyway, all right. So it's about 5:49. I'm going to cut this off in just a few seconds here and get ready to be over on Royce. If we haven't covered everything you want, and things go, Royce and I are pretty good about going with the punches over there, and so is the panel that'll be up there. So please, anybody who's seen this stream, please join us over there. Royce does a much better job of this than I do. And I look a lot better over there, because he does all this hard stuff, right? And comes up with all that. And I just get to sit back and, that kind of thing. But we'll be up live at 6:30 p.m. And that's here on the West Coast For you guys on the East Coast, I what add 3 hours, so that'd be about 9:30, I suppose. So anyway, I want to thank each and every one of you that showed up. I'm overwhelmed. I honestly thought for my first 10 streams, I'd get two or three people because I don't do streams, right? But I certainly appreciate it. And I promise you, this will get better. I just don't know how to do my job yet. The damn company hired me, you know. So anyway, so 6:30, Royce in the house tonight. We're going to be discussing Neil Young, and I've got a lot to say about that. So does Royce. We already talked about some of the things we wanted to cover there, and of course, our usual band of suspects will be up on the panel, I'm sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and please, by the way, I'm not very good at self promoting, am I? You go, you just spent about a quarter of your time self promoting, Michael. Uh, Give this stream a thumbs up, even if you've seen it, later on. That helps because every 50 thumbs up you get, the algorithm is designed to bump into a few more home feeds. And that way we'll get a larger crowd here every week. And then we can start talking as a community. Community. Um, one of the reasons or one of the ways that I've designed my channel is for I spend 2 to 4 hours after every video I do trying to answer because I want dialogue. The reason I decided to do the live stream is so we can have a live dialogue. We're kind of shot in the foot. I had it all set up tonight and my pre-stream didn't work. I hope everybody got over here. I hope it wasn't too much of a problem for you. I'll be looking into seeing how I can figure that. But give the and by the way, I cover everything from rock stories, review of new albums, old albums, anything having to do with classic rock. I do shorts. I have polls running. There's every damn good reason on the planet for you to hit that subscribe to the tribe button and tap that top bell icon because then you'll be notified of all my future videos. Hey guys, really seriously, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up. I was overrun by the chat starting about what 45 minutes before this stream went on. You guys had a whole plethora of things you were talking about, and that's why and what I want this stream to be. All right, I'm Michael Noland. This is the bottom line, only as I see it. And in the comments, even on this live stream, as people view it later, you'll get the real bottom line every time. All right, I'll see you folks in about a half an hour. Okay, I'll be over on Royce in the house. All right, just type in Royce in the house if you're not aware of the channel. He's also on my channel page, and I have a link to his channel. All right, those are the channel in that channel page area are all the channels I actively support currently. All right, and there's a lot of good people there, and we're going to be bringing up some of those guys in future episodes too. I love the whole idea of community. I love the whole idea of being able to have an opinion and the freedom to express it, and the freedom of others to poo-poo your opinion, which happens all the time on my channel. Anyway, I love all of you. Thank you so much for showing up tonight, and I will see you in a half hour on Royce in the House. Night, folks.